In the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to a man named Iron, who sets off on a solitary hiking trip to a desolate place, an area so isolated that no one can be seen for miles. As he embarks on his journey, he unexpectedly encounters two girls, lost and desperate. Iron approaches them and learns that they have strayed from their path. Without hesitation, he offers his help, pointing them in the right direction. But instead of parting ways, Iron decides to accompany them, suggesting a thrilling route ahead. Intrigued, the girls agree to join him. They navigate small mountains together, which they scale quickly. But as they press forward, disaster strikes. Iron slips between the mountains. The girls, terrified, believe he has fallen to his death. But then, a voice calls from below. Iron is alive. He urges them to come down and see that there's a vast pool of water beneath him. The girls cautiously descend, and together, they marvel at the sight, having a great time. As they move forward, they stumble upon some tourist attractions. They chat for a while, but soon the night begins to fall. The girls decide to head back, but Iron, still eager to continue his adventure, stays behind. Before they part ways, they take a selfie. As the girls walk away, one of them invites Iron to their party the next night. Iron agrees, taking the address, and watches them disappear into the distance. Now alone, he resumes his hike, filled with excitement, and pops in his headphones. After crossing treacherous terrain, Iron reaches near a mountain. Seeking support, he leans on a large stone. Suddenly, it shifts beneath him, and Iron is sent tumbling down. One of his hands becomes trapped between the stone and the mountain, leaving him in agony, unable to free himself. Desperate, Iron shouts for help, but there is no one to hear. He's in the middle of the mountain, and though he's not gravely injured, his hand is pinned. Iron frantically searches his backpack and finds a knife. He begins hacking at the stone, but it's futile. The rock is too tough. Yet Iron doesn't give up. He keeps trying, even after the knife slips from his hand. Trapped and desperate, he figures out a way to retrieve the knife, but by then its edge is gone. Exhausted, he pauses, but soon he begins to lose all sensation in his hand. He's stuck, and the panic starts to set in. He doesn't know how much longer he can hold on. Hours turn to days. By morning, Iron has been trapped for over 25 hours. He pulls out his camera and starts recording, knowing that no one is coming to save him. He's given up all hope. In the video, he reflects on his foolishness, how he didn't tell anyone where he was going. No one knows his location, and he's paying the price. Just as he begins to lose all faith, he hears distant voices and screams for help. But it's in vain. As night falls, hunger takes hold, and he eats what little food remains in his backpack. He's starving. In a moment of loneliness, Iron recalls the party the girls invited him to. He imagines what it would be like to be there, to be surrounded by people, to be free. He remembers how, before he left for the hike, his mother called him. But he was so eager to start his journey that he ignored her call. He hadn't told anyone where he was going. That's why no one will come looking for him. 3 days pass. Iron tries a last-ditch effort to free himself. Using a rope, he attempts to move the massive stone, but it doesn't budge. His food and water have run out. In his despair, he continues recording. He reflects on how, if he had only told someone about his trip, they would have come to find him. Iron begins to believe this video may be the last record of his life. He gazes at the bird soaring freely above him, feeling the emptiness inside. As the days drag on, Iron becomes more desperate. He's only got 15 kilograms of food and water left. The sunlight comes and goes. Iron is growing weaker, and with each passing hour, he's consumed by hunger. In a moment of madness, he contemplates cutting off his hand. He ties off his arm and tries to sever it with the knife, but the blade is too dull, barely scratching the surface. Frustrated, he curses the cheap knife, realizing it's useless in his time of need. Nights are the hardest. Iron recalls the happy moments from his past, the parties with friends, the laughter, and the warmth of his family. His emotions overwhelm him, and he begins to cry. Suddenly, thick clouds roll in, and it starts to rain. Iron seizes the opportunity, filling his bottle with rainwater. The rain begins to flood the area, and Iron, desperate for any advantage, tries to lift the stone, believing the water will make it easier. After what feels like an eternity, he finally manages to free his hand. Iron's struggle for survival has been nothing short of harrowing, but against all odds, he's survived. The stone that once trapped him, now removed, marks the beginning of his fight back to freedom. He ran to his car and sped off, but just as he was driving away, it was revealed that none of it had been real. It had all been a dream. He was still trapped, right there, between the same unforgiving rocks. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. Iron's mind shattered. He screamed in agony, unable to control the overwhelming panic rising within him. It had now been more than 4 days since he became ensnared, and the isolation was taking its toll. Hallucinations started to blur his sense of reality. By morning, his mental state had deteriorated completely. He was no longer himself. He began talking to himself, laughing hysterically, his body weak and broken from lack of food and water. Iron picked up his camera and recorded one final message, his voice cracking. "I love my family so much. Today, I miss them all so much." He filmed everything, knowing deep down he wouldn't make it out alive. Despite his best efforts, the stone would not move. Tears streamed down his face as the crushing weight of despair overwhelmed him. Frustrated, Iron tried once more to free his hand, but it was hopeless. In a moment of complete surrender, he took the knife and drove it into his trapped hand. Blood poured out, and the blade cut so deep it damaged the bone. Iron cried out in agony, but there was no other choice. He had to survive or die trying. Another day passed. Iron had now been trapped for 6 days. He was weak, losing blood, dehydrated, and on the brink of death. If he wasn't rescued soon, there would be no hope. In the quiet moments, his thoughts turned to his family. He muttered to himself, "This stone has been waiting for me all my life. Maybe this is my last moment." In that final desperate act, Iron etched his date of birth into the mountain, along with what he believed would be his date of death. He was ready to give up, to surrender to fate. But then something incredible happened. The next morning, as Iron opened his eyes, he saw a vision, a child, his future son. The vision was so vivid, so real. He saw himself playing with the boy, laughing together in the future. The sight filled him with an inexplicable surge of strength. This glimpse of his future, of his family, gave him the will to fight, to make one final attempt at freedom. With everything he had left, Iron twisted his hand in the opposite direction, and in that agonizing moment, he heard the bone snap. His hand, still trapped between the stone, was now free. Iron, drenched in pain and disbelief, snapped a photo of his severed hand. Somehow, despite the excruciating agony, he pulled himself from the rocks, staggering out of the mountain. He walked for what felt like an eternity, until he found a pool of rainwater. Desperate, he drank it all, his parched throat finally relieved after days of thirst. But even now, the danger wasn't over. The landscape around him was barren and endless. Every direction seemed the same. But Iron didn't stop. He pushed forward, determined to survive, to live. And then, just when all hope seemed lost, he encountered a family. They rushed to his side, helping him in every way they could. They contacted security, and soon a helicopter appeared, whisking him away to safety, to the hospital, where he would begin his long recovery. Months later, Iron stood in front of the camera, a changed man. 3 years had passed, and in that time, Iron had rebuilt his life. He had fallen in love, married, and had a child, the very same child he had seen in his vision. His near-death experience had changed him. It had redefined his life. Iron no longer took his relationships for granted. He spoke to people more, worked on strengthening those bonds. But despite everything, despite the trauma, Iron couldn't give up his love for hiking. He continued to embark on adventurous journeys, but this time he always told someone where he was going. He was no longer just living for himself. He was living for the family he almost lost. And with that, the movie concludes, a bittersweet, hopeful ending. The most shocking revelation. This entire story was based on a true event. To hear more such incredible stories, make sure to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.